Today is Tuesday, November 9th. We're talking about the goal nearly 200 countries are working on right now, a formal agreement out of COP26. What's on the table and why some activists are not happy. Also, new details from inside a chaotic music festival, the lawsuits that are piling up, and help for people who were traumatized. Plus, is there a perfect bedtime? We'll tell you what new research found, what Robinhood customers need to know about a recent cyber attack, and how items from one musician's old closet are raising millions of dollars for a good cause. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. With only a few days left in the COP26 climate conference, we're starting to see what a final agreement could look like. Negotiators from nearly 200 countries, including the U.S., are still haggling over the details of this deal. But already COP26's president released a list of what could be included. The biggest one is a stronger commitment to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. So projections right now show that the world's temperature is on track to rise to 2.7 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. And if that does happen, it will melt much of the planet's ice, raise global sea levels, and make extreme weather much more likely. So that's why that goal is on the top of the list. The list also talks about how to get there. There's a reference to countries needing to quickly speed up cuts to greenhouse gas emissions over the next decade, and there's an acknowledgement that more money needs to go to lower-income countries to help them adapt to the climate crisis. Nothing is set in stone yet, but already Greenpeace called it, quote, exceptionally weak. And it criticized the list for not mentioning fossil fuels since research has shown they're the main driver of climate change. And speaking of COP26, delegates there heard from a familiar American politician this week. Former President Barack Obama spoke to the summit. He told young people to stay angry in the fight against climate change, but that they should go beyond protesting and posting on social media. Obama told them to get involved in politics at some level, even if it just means getting out to vote for politicians who stand against climate change. 4 Republicans and more than 20 Democrats in Congress also went to COP26. They're trying to show that climate change does not have to be a partisan issue. To be continued. There are now more details about how an outdoor concert in Houston, Texas spiraled out of control. Remember, an already tightly packed crowd of 50,000 people surged toward the stage as rapper Travis Scott was performing. Fans in the crowd got trampled or squeezed so tightly they couldn't breathe. At least 8 people died, and hundreds of others were hurt. Newly released video shows some concertgoers scaling the stage to escape the crush of people, shouting for help and for the show to stop. The FBI has now joined the investigation into how this music festival got so out of hand. Local authorities are also looking into what went wrong and how to prevent another tragedy like this. Houston's police chief now says he actually visited Travis Scott and his head of security just before Friday's show. He apparently warned them about the energy in the crowd and that he had some public safety concerns. It's not clear if anything changed because of that meeting, though. Now, Scott and the concert organizer, Live Nation, have promised to cooperate with the ongoing investigation. But they're also facing their own legal trouble. At least 17 lawsuits have already been filed, and lawyers say that number will grow. Those lawsuits accuse concert organizers of knowing the crowd would be unruly and that Scott would rile up his fans. They say event planners were negligent and did not do enough to prevent the chaos. So far, Travis Scott has not responded to these lawsuits, and Live Nation released a statement to say simply, quote, "We will address all legal matters at the appropriate time." Meanwhile, Travis Scott says he does plan to cover funeral costs for all 8 people who died at his music festival. He's also partnered with mental health organizations to give survivors a free month of counseling, and he plans to give refunds to anyone who bought tickets. More top Trump allies are facing some pressure to cooperate with lawmakers investigating the January 6th Capitol riot. Lawmakers issued another batch of subpoenas to 6 more people in Trump's inner circle. They include former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Members of Congress want to legally force them to turn over their records and to sit for questioning under oath. So far, they haven't responded to these subpoenas. But these are the first subpoenas to go out since the House voted to hold former White House aide Steve Bannon in contempt of Congress for refusing to help with the investigation. Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney told Politico she and the rest of the panel have already interviewed more than 150 people as they try to figure out exactly what sparked the Capitol riot and how to prevent another one from happening in the future. Stay tuned. One of the strictest vaccine mandates in the U.S. went into effect this week. People in Los Angeles now need to show they're fully vaccinated to go to a lot of indoor public places. We're talking restaurants, gyms, shopping malls, entertainment venues, and salons. Unvaccinated people are still allowed outdoors if that's an option, or if it's not, they'll have to show they recently tested negative for COVID-19 to go indoors. Similar mandates are already in effect in New York City, San Francisco, and New Orleans. But in LA, there's been a lot of backlash. Thousands of people gathered outside LA City Hall yesterday to protest the new rules. Speakers there said their constitutional rights were being violated, and they accused the government of overreaching. Some people were also there to protest an upcoming mandate that says all city employees, including police and firefighters, need to get vaccinated by next month unless they have an approved medical or religious exemption. They do not have a testing option. Some police officers and firefighters warned they could end up seeing a shortage of first responders and that emergency calls will go unanswered. Emergency workers had the same concerns in other cities that enforced mandates like New York City. So far, at least, they have not actually been dealing with those issues. All right, we have more news coming up, but first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor. For some people in the United States, their choices are either going without health insurance at all or paying sky-high deductibles while still wondering whether their medical appointments and procedures will actually be covered. Well, now there's a new option that's really made for people who are healthy and not already getting health insurance through an employer. So think freelancers, those in the gig economy, entrepreneurs, and more. It's called Crowd Health. It's not health insurance, it's a community-powered alternative. Crowd Health gets rid of the insurance middleman and passes those savings to its members. And for some, it can save hundreds of dollars every month. Crowd Health helps people who want to get and stay healthy in return for lower prices. And right now, just for the Newsworthy listeners, you can get your first 6 months for just $99 per month. That's a savings of almost 50% versus their standard pricing and a lot less than some high-deductible plans. Just go to joincrowdhealth.com/99 to learn more and then enter the code Newsworthy at sign-up. That's joincrowdhealth.com/99 and then use the promo code Newsworthy. Crowd Health is not health insurance. It's a community-powered alternative. Term and conditions may apply. Is there a perfect bedtime? Researchers out of Britain say maybe. Specifically, they say it seems 10 p.m. is the best time for bed if you want to benefit your heart. They checked the sleep stats of more than 88,000 adults for about 6 years and found those who were asleep around 10 o'clock were less likely to develop heart disease than those who went to bed earlier or later. It turns out those who went to bed after midnight were at the highest risk of having heart problems, but those who fell asleep between 10 and 11 had the lowest risk. The link was stronger in women than it was in men. The researchers say this is all because of your circadian rhythm, or in other words, your body's natural internal clock. Now keep in mind, this study shows a link between bedtimes and the risk of heart disease, but it does not prove that a certain bedtime causes heart disease. More research is needed. It's being called one of the biggest worldwide crackdowns on ransomware and hacking. The U.S. Justice Department charged 2 people for working with the REvil ransomware gang. In recent days, Romania, South Korea, and Kuwait have also arrested people thought to be associated with REvil. That hacking group is believed to be behind thousands of ransomware attacks, meaning they use malware that locks up companies' computers, then demand money to unlock those systems and all of the data. Recent victims include U.S. meat supplier JBS, which processes about a fifth of the world's meat supply. Now investigators are trying to put suspects in prison, and the U.S. State Department is offering rewards for information that could lead to more arrests. Also this week, the DOJ said it's recovered more than $6 million that REvil extorted from companies it's hacked. Still, that's only a fraction of the more than $200 million the hacking group has likely gotten through its ransoms. Speaking of ransomware, another well-known company was just hit. This time it was the online trading platform Robinhood. The company says the personal information of more than 7 million users was compromised last week. Robinhood says most of the information taken was names and email addresses. A few hundred people had their birth dates and zip codes taken as well. The company thinks only about 10 people had more details swiped than that, but no one is thought to have had bank account or social security numbers stolen. Robinhood says it's working with law enforcement to track down the hackers, and the company promised customers it would be transparent and, quote, act with integrity. It's not clear yet if Robinhood actually paid the ransom. A couple of Walmart trucks have been driving around without a driver. Walmart is working with the startup Gaddick to help deliver groceries. They say they've had 2 fully driverless trucks on the road since August. And the startup says it's the first time an autonomous trucking company has removed the safety driver from behind the wheel on a commercial delivery route. Although there are still some safeguards in place, like an employee in the passenger seat who can stop the truck in an emergency, and a so-called chase vehicle with a driver following behind the truck. The trucks have been going in a 7-mile loop between the fulfillment center in Arkansas and a nearby Walmart neighborhood market grocery store. The route was picked to avoid high-traffic areas like schools and hospitals. The trucks run 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Walmart says the trucks have been efficient and they hope to add more. Hundreds of items owned by the late Amy Winehouse went up for auction this week, bringing in more than $4 million for charity. Winehouse was a singer-songwriter who has been called one of the defining stars of her generation, but she died of alcohol poisoning 10 years ago. All of the proceeds from the auction will go toward a foundation her parents started to help young people battling addiction. The items that sold included the dress she wore for her final performance in 2011. The auction also included personal items from the singer like handwritten notes. Some of the items will go on display later this month at the Design Museum in London before going to the winners. Well, that's it for the main news today, but now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, a quick break to thank our sponsor, Rothy's. What do you get when you combine comfort, style, and sustainability? You get Rothy's shoes. Yes, Rothy's not only has new, soft, plush, and super cute merino wool styles as part of its exclusive autumn collection, but all of their shoes are also sustainably made with recycled materials like plastic water bottles. They're also fully machine washable, so we're talking about a win-win-win here. I already have a pair of their merino wool flats that I adore, and Rothy's is always first on my list when I'm ready for something new. Oh, and good news for the guys listening. Rothy's shoes are not just for women anymore. That's right, Rothy's now sells men's sneakers and men's driving loafers. In fact, Forbes calls Rothy's men's shoes a, quote, travel must-have. So to help you welcome fall season in style, Rothy's is doing something special. That's right, they gave us the chance to share this super rare opportunity with our listeners for a limited time. So right now, you can get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's Rothys, spelled ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Head to rothys.com/newsworthy to find your new favorites today. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, what animals are pearls found in? You can answer the question and play along on Instagram. Just find and follow us at NewsworthyPod. And look for the trivia quiz in our Instagram stories today. As for last week's trivia question, what is the rarest M&M color? The answer is brown. Yes, there's actually been research done about this, and it turns out only about 13% of M&Ms are brown. On the flip side, the most common color of M&Ms is blue, making up 24% of the standard bags. But there hasn't always been blue M&Ms. That color was introduced in 1995 to replace the unpopular tan M&Ms. No matter what color they are on the outside, though, M&Ms all taste the same, or at least the same as the others in the same bag. For a long time, there were only two M&M options, plain milk chocolate or peanut. Now there are dozens of flavors around the world, including peanut butter and hazelnut. All right, thank you so much for tuning into the Newsworthy today and every day. As always, we'll be back with more tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.